Welcome to our Halloween treat box. This is such a cool little project because it is multi-sided. Okay, see if you can see it. And it is functional. There, you put your treats right on inside there. And it is cute and sassy because it's got little feet on it and everything out like that. We've got some glitter in the sky with our glittered little witch. But the neat part about this is this very easily comes apart. It's got these notches. It's made out of plywood, so it's super strong. Okay, so it comes apart, and see the cut detail in the fence? Okay, you just take the two back pieces off, and they just slide right off of there. Of course, doing it on camera is a little bit trickier for me. And so then you can paint everything flat, and then just assemble it when you're done, and you've never seen anything break down so easily for storage. So this lovely treat box that looks like it might take up a lot of room becomes quite a skinny little storage issue that can go in just a little teeny box. You could easily take these pieces and you could make them into standalone projects. Each of them has, it could be a standalone banner topper, anything like that. So there's a lot of versatility if you're not into treat boxes, but I think the treat box, you can fill it with your treats or anything else seasonal. One thing that's really neat about this project is we have taken the liberty of creating stencils for each of the sides. So this is, and it's got little etched lines so that you can lay it out and it's perfectly aligned. You don't even have to think about it. This is a two-part stencil, so you can put the face on your pumpkins after you get done. So I've taken a lot of the base coat work. All of the pieces were done with a stencil for the base coat, but then we made them pretty and deep with all the techniques. Base coating is not my favorite thing to do, so I really enjoy anything that will speed that process up. You can feel free to do it with stencils or without. The pattern is included in the DVD and in the e-packet and the pattern packet. So whichever way you prefer to paint, we've got all the options for you. Enjoy! Alright, one of the important things with these pieces that knock down flat is you want to make sure that you're painting on the right side. So I've got mine all put together, and I'm going to make sure my pattern lines up and make sure that this is the way it goes. When I had it put together just a little while ago, I had this piece on the front reversed, and I really like it the way that we had it planned. So I went ahead and reversed these guys and then put this in. But you'll notice that this notch is higher and this one's lower, so you have to make sure these pieces match. And you want to make sure that you like the way your pattern lays out. So do make sure that you've got them put in there in the right order. And then this is really easy the way it comes apart. You just simply lift this off and lift it off of its tab. Okay, and so now I might write on here with my thing, I might write front on there. And then the back piece lifts off. Okay, and then I might write front on that. Okay, and then the side pieces pull out. And you could write a B on it instead, so that you knew that that was the back, and then paint the backs last. Okay, and top, and then top. Okay, and so then these things will just get glued together. Okay, but the very first thing we want to do is seal all of our surfaces with multi-purpose sealer. And that's just going to be to preserve the wood and keep it from all the things. And we don't want to get any paint in our grooves, and we want to be careful about getting a bunch of paint on here or you're going to be sanding. Okay, so do be very cautious, and you might want to use just a little flat brush over and not so much get it into those grooves. I wouldn't put any paint or sealer into these grooves here. Okay, that's just going to keep everything fitting. And when you get down here to the bottom, make sure that you're using less paint. They're easy to do, there's a few cautionary measures to take. If you get a bunch of paint glommed into something, just use your Q-tip. These are super duper sharp little Q-tips, and get in there and get that paint out. And that will keep everything fitting just fine. The key is just to be aware of it. And then after you get all your base coats done, you're going to have quite a mess on your nonstick mat, and that's the easiest thing in the world for cleanup is just squirt with a little bit of water. I love not having to change my mat all the time, or my paper, or my tablecloth, or any of that. And then you just scrape with your handy scraper. It just loosens everything up. And then you wipe it off with a dry paper towel. You can do anything on here. Nothing sticks. Hot glue doesn't stick. Two-part epoxy doesn't stick. Like, nothing sticks to this stuff. Okay, we're going to use tack it over and over and put it on the back side of our stencils. I'm going to use the stencils to base coat my details. I've got 3 sides, plus I intend to do the back and the front of the very back piece, this guy right here. And so by doing that reversible, that just adds a little bit more work to the project. So what I want to do is to speed up the process. I'm going to use stencils to do the main base coats, and I can just tap on the stuff and it lines right up, which saves me a tracing step, which is awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put the tacket on there nice and smooth using this jumbo dauber. And what that is going to do is it's going to dry clear, and then it'll be sticky, and it creates like a giant post-it note out of my stencil, and the edges won't lift, and then I won't have bleeding underneath my stencils. I'm on wax paper, and as soon as I apply this, I'll take this off and I'll set it someplace else where it won't come in contact with stuff. And not on paper. Tack it over never likes to stick to paper like forever, so don't do that. But if you ever do stick a piece of paper on your stencil that has tacket on it, I thought about this the other day, soak it in some water and the paper will dissolve and you can get it off of there. And then the tacket will just once you wash tack it over and over, it re-sticks after it's dry, so you don't have to worry about washing the tacket off. Anyway, I just do around the edges of the pieces, and don't do it too thick or you'll end up with just a big gummy kind of mess. Alright, I was getting my brush out to do some slip slapping, and I noticed that I have, can you hear that? That is a piece of dried red paint that I must have smeared into. And it's dried and hard, and I'd never be able to slip slap because I'd be dragging through it. So I'll take this opportunity to show you about our amazing brush cleaner and restorer. It is the only brush cleaner and restorer that I've ever seen that actually works. I'm going to put it in this porcelain dish. You don't ever want to use this in plastic because some plastics don't agree with it. Obviously it comes in a plastic bottle, so some plastics do agree with it. But watch how quickly this dissolves. And the black paint that's in my brush apparently as well. So it is really, really amazing how fast. You can use this on clothes, but do test before you do it. And then if I want to tease that out, then I can just come on here, and that's why we call it a groomer, because then that will tease that paint out on these little sharp spikes there. Okay, and it'll take out all the paint that's stuffed up underneath your ferrule, and your paintbrush will be like new. And I don't know of any other product that you can ever buy that will absolutely pay you back for owning it, but this one is definitely one of those, because it will restore your brushes to a better state than they were, and you can use them for a long time to come. Okay, and as you can see, the brush is clean and has all of the red paint removed. So we've rescued a brush. I don't know, that's $8, $10. This little bottle of stuff is $6 or $7. Definitely worth a couple of bucks to save your brushes. And while I had it out, I actually did, which one's wet here? This one is a dry rubbing brush, the ones where you do scumbling and rouging and stuff like that. And it was so filled with stuff that you couldn't even flex the tip. And I cleaned it out. I always try to do another extra little brush while I have one out. So we're going to use drying time extender. And I'm going to use a big oval brush. And we're going to just put a coat of drying time extender on our surfaces. You'll kind of do them all the same. And see how that's very, very shiny? We don't want it to be super shiny. So what I'll do is I'll take my paper towel and just wipe that off. And we're going to take Hauser medium green and some Hauser light. And I've got my pattern there, what I want to do is I want to put in the basic middle area some kind of highlight and some movement. So I can look at this, I'll line that up there, and I'll know that I'm in this general area right here. I'll just give it some kind of groundy movement. I can bring that down just a little bit. I want to get it a little bit more painterly. We'll pick up a little bit of the Hauser Light and kind of continue on like that. I got our brush. I want to blend. Kind of give some ground movement. And I think I'm going to get that ground movement kind of look in the background. I think we've got that basically where we need it to be. Okay, just some nice little smudges. Alright, I've lined up my stencil and I'm going to base coat. I love that there's no tracing, so I'm just going to use straight up and down move with my jumbo dauber. You want to start kind of in the middle and then walk your way out to the edge so you have less quantity of paint on your dauber so that you don't end up with any kind of bleed under. And always, always, always go straight up and down. Straight up and down is what will get you nice and base coated without any bleeding. So what I love about this is because I'm not smoothing the paint onto my surface, what happens is my base coat will go faster. I'll leave the stencil in place and see when it dries, and I'll just leave my dauber just right up here on my paint pile right there. Okay, and in the meantime I'll get these two guys based and we'll see what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to do my pumpkin with pumpkin, and I'm just going to mask this little bit. I'm going to need two masks here. I'll do the big part right here. I can get most of it done, and then I'll just use a little corner. And that's just post-it note, and that's just handy stuff to have around. Okay, and then we're going to use pumpkin. Straight up and down. Now you could probably get crazy and do a little bit more detail with the stencils in place. I'm not going to at this point. I really enjoy floating, but you could do a double load thing and have it be all kinds of fun. Okay, so that obviously didn't base coat the first time, so I'll do the same thing with that. I'm going to give that guy one more coat just for giggles. Okay, and I'd say he's done. Gotta find my frog color. Alright, we're going to do our frog in Hauser medium green. And I'm using a fingertip dauber in this case. I think between the basing, the tracing, and the multiple basing, stencils are definitely worth their weight in gold. I just want to get going, you know. I want to do the fun stuff. I don't want to do the grunt stuff. Alright, so we'll just park him over there, and then we'll come over into our pumpkin and do one more coat. Alright, and then once we got that basically base coated, we're going to go into our jack-o'-lantern orange. And we're going to do a top glaze coat. And if you're getting a little bit of bubbling, just blot off and then re-pat on there. There we go, perfect. Okay, the stems are Hauser Light green. The cat is black, lamp black, and yeah, I think that's it right now. Okay, when you get done, you'll just take a round brush and you'll just connect where your bridging was and just smooth that out. You can bring the kitty cat's feet down to the thing here. And if you miss anything else, just fill in. When I attack the fence posts, I'm going to use white, warm white, plus a little bit of driftwood. You can use straight white, but it just gets a little bit cold looking. And we're just going to dry brush. I'm using Patty's favorite dry brush. Notice that it's coming off the brush nice and scratchy looking. That's going to give us that appearance of a really old fence post. This is the fun part. You can keep the base coating and stuff, although I know we have to do that. This is the stuff that makes you happy. Makes it come alive. Okay, so we're just going to dry brush down all of along the grain of the fence. So side to side on the side posts and down on the others. Alright, we're going to use the chisel flat blender, and burnt umber. And I did change the color of my pumpkin, by the way, to persimmon. That's in the instructions correctly. And we're going to shade along the edge of each of the staves. Okay. Then we'll go into soft black with a very teeny, the reason you want to use a chisel blender is because they're very short brushes and they can do a very, very sharp little float. And I'm going to just chisel soft black within the burnt umber to deepen that shading. And it's very helpful if you go all one side across, flip yourself over, and then do all the other sides. Goes nice and quick. Not sure what's going on down over there. Alright, now we'll load our brush with a little bit of burnt umber. Okay, and I guess I'll go this direction first. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to, in some places, we're going to put a sharp, really strong float, like that's a split fence. And then we'll come down and we'll do some kind of grain on our wood. Okay, we don't really deepen that unless you want to. If you get something real milky looking, go ahead and deepen it. Try not to do the same thing everywhere, because that's not interesting. Make sure to put some nice knots and stuff in and have fun with it. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll go in to our burnt umber and we'll add some water and we'll make a wash. And then we'll just put just a little tint of burnt umber over the whole fence. And that'll just warm us up just ever so much so that our fence doesn't look like it's all white and ghostly. Okay, we're going to use black green, and before I get any details going on here, and I want to shade kind of to round this area, and I could just wipe that off of my piece with my paper towel. Just all the way across the bottom, rounding up just to give that scene just a little bit more of a scene looking thing. Grab out a Q-tip, spit on it, and wipe that back. You can also use a wet brush. There we go. Okay, we're going to take our dry rubbing brush and I'm going to go into Driftwood and we're going to dirty up and roughen up our tombstones. If we want them to look really old, then we got to get some dirt on them. Okay, and then we'll go into a little bit of burnt umber. Okay, we'll just make that kind of messy and yucky. We're going to use neutral gray plus a touch of black green and just wash the edges of the tombstones. Alright, we're going to line the edges of our tombstones with, that's too dark, with soft black. I was going to do a mix, but I think that'll be just too much. And maybe we'll go soft black plus the neutral gray. And then we need to put in some soft black cracks and chips and things like that. Just add in. And okay, so now we got some nice chipped stones. We can maybe even have one over here on the side. Alright, and we'll do repeat with the others. Okay, we're going to shade or highlight the edges of the tombstones with a little bit of Indian turquoise. And that's going to be kind of sheer, and you want it to be kind of well blended. And we just want to bring a kind of eerie color. You can walk it out just a little bit. Kind of dry rub, scumble it in. Okay, and I think that just brightens them up just a little bit, makes them a little bit more focal point. Okay, then we're going to do the writing on the tombstones with, I've got my Raphael #1 and thinned soft black plus lamp black. And you want to be careful with this. You're going to only go in one direction at a time. You can't, if it's an S, you can't, okay, let me put it in my hand here. You can't go and do the whole letter. You have to go one direction, then stop and pull it the other direction, and then stop and pull it that direction. It's really important. And you've got to stay with your brush straight up and down, which is why you can't see my hand. Okay, and nice and thin to paint. And then we're going to take our micro eraser when we get it all done. It's got a teeny, teeny, teeny little eraser head there. And then we'll take out all the little details. I'm going to mix some butterscotch in with our persimmon. about 2 butterscotch to 1 persimmon, and then we're going to dry it off on our paper towel. Got a crescent brush. I'm going to use round shape following strokes. If it's screaming at you, then it's too much butterscotch, so you can adjust it. This is a really cool technique because what it does is when you dry rub a light color in the middle, it gives the effect of shading over here on the edge. So you're getting your first shading done just by base coating. Okay, and then as soon as you get what is an even kind of coverage, you'll go again and repeat it, but I'm going to do it on the one that I just did. And you might lighten it just a little bit, leaning more towards the butterscotch. Ultimately, we'll get to only butterscotch. And we're going to cinch into more of the middle area and not go all the way out to the edges. And you'll notice I always start where the brightest area is going to be. Okay, so see how that's getting nice and bright. So we'll go repeat over here. If it's wet or if it's cold, it's wet. So do always make sure you feel it, and you'll be able to tell if it's wet. Okay, I think I'm okay. If you're wet when you try to do the dry rubbing technique, then what will happen is your paint will grab and you'll dig a hole. There are ways to get out of that, but you don't want to do it, so just try not to. Okay. Alright, next we're going to rub with just butterscotch and spend some time rubbing on that paper towel. And that'll give it just a little bit more roundness. See how we're getting round there? Now I'm going to load my tip into butterscotch, and I'm going to do some shape following dry brush. And that's just going to give it some texture. Okay, and up here I'm going to have to do this in 2 passes. Okay, maybe repeat that. Okay, I can dig it. Okay, I'm just going to wrap my brush up right now so that it will stay wet. And we're going to float with burnt sienna. We're running out of room on my palette, so it's almost time for a change. Okay, so burnt sienna in a big, fat, flat brush. See if we can see it. So see where I'm making that mess right there on my tombstone. Out comes the Q-tip. If you keep just a couple of them out, then you don't have to get into the container. You can just grab it and go. And you can reuse those. That's what I like about them, is you can actually use them until you just can't anymore. They dry up, and then you just re-moisten them and they absorb, and it's all good. Alright, so then we'll go ahead over here. Okay, I'm not really digging this color very much, so I'm going to find a better color. Alright, we're going to shade. I've switched to a curved flat brush, and I'd like to say that the big flat brush does a really great job at what it does, but shading and walking out a float, I don't know if you saw, but my float was sticking really close to my edge. Watch what happens here. You lay the paint down, you just kind of scooch it. Now I'm laying down on my brush more on a flat. I would do this. You scooch the paint into the corner, get it where you want it, and then you come back and you just walk it out. It's just kind of cool. I don't know why it works better, but it really, really, really does. Look at the difference between the two sides. Crazy talk. Okay, and so that color is Heritage Brick. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Scooch it in where you want it. And then we'll walk it up. And I think go ahead and draw in some little hints of sections. That'll give us just a little bit of detail without making it crazy. And the same thing has to happen down here. Okay, I like that little bit of detail. Okay, now we'll deepen our shade with Russet. Take a gander at how that looks. So maybe we'll shade at the very top and the very bottom. Kind of anchor things down just a little bit. Alright, we're going to go into some Orange Twist with Patty's favorite dry brush, and we're going to give that center a bit more detail. When you're using the dry brush instead of the crescent brush, you want to always remember to flick it on your paper towel so you don't get a strong stop mark. Okay. Let's go ahead while we're here and let's glaze with a little bit of Naphthol Red. I don't know how recently I've had this out. It might need to be shaken a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to take Naphthol Red and I'm just going to give that lower shaded area of the pumpkin some red. And let's do the top side over here too. Okay, same thing over here. Some wonderful little pumpkins here. And we're going to use our stencil to put our little faces on. Okay. And I'm going to use, for the face, I'm going to use a short crescent brush. And then what I'll do is I'll pounce off on my palette and then touch briefly on a paper towel, just for no sloppiness. You get a lot more control. Better for small detail areas when you use this kind of technique. And once again, I'm loving, 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 loving not having to stop and trace and base and yada yada. Just lay it on there and tap on your base coat. Okay, so we'll go back and make sure we got everybody. And presto, little faces, like it. All right, we are going to take my round brush and olive green, and we're going to dry brush, flick it on my paper towel, the stems. And then repeat dry brush up the center of the stem. And then we'll shade with a little bit of Hauser dark green. Let's see what this will look like. Bowling for paints here. Give it just a little bit of glaze here and there. Alright, so we're going to just give a little bit of a look of having some cast shadow type situation here. And that is lined with Butterscotch, I believe. And do heavy paint so you don't have to repeat yourself. There's that little bit of extra detail that just makes it pop. And I'm going to have to repeat myself anyway. As it dried, it got a little bit transparent. Like it. Alright, we have our little froggy. We're going to dry rub him with Hauser Light Green. Just to give him some kind of presence there. Okay, we'll repeat with olive green. And let's see, his little belly is sticking out right here, so we'll just keep it kind of on the belly and on the tips of his legs. That pops him out. And then we'll shade him with, I'll figure it out. Okay, I'm going to get his features on with white for the eyes and then black for the mouth. And then we'll paint his eyes black. Alright, and we'll take our little froggy and we will shade him using our little flat brush. So you get such control using these little short bites. I know I keep saying that, but I think it's worth bearing. Okay, that's the wrong side. I can go from chisel to a big float easily. Just give his body a little shape. And this color is Hauser dark green. Cute little guy. Alright, we'll take neutral gray and dry rub with a crescent brush, and we're going to dry rub the highlights on the Kit Kat. Okay, let's see, his back leg will be and then of course his tail has to be highlighted. And then you can repeat. Sometimes if you want the paint to be a little bit stronger, you can just stipple it like that. And then not take so much out. And we'll go into, I think maybe a little Indian turquoise. Let's see how this works. I'm going to go dirty brush. Oops. Not wiped out enough. Yeah, I like it. I can dig it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to float on the kitty cat to establish shape. And then we'll float on his ears. I'm going to give him a little bit of a float on his head. And let's float on his back. Okay, maybe a little bit on the chest. Maybe a little stronger up the back. And we'll line features with a little bit of the gray plus the Indian turquoise, the neutral gray. And then we'll give Kitty some whiskers. And then we'll line his eyes with the black. And give him a dot of white. Alright, we're going to add some accents with Festive green. Okay, and so we're just going to make this grass grow underneath. then bring it out. That just adds a little brightness to it. Okay, we'll repeat up here. Don't make it too bright out of the center of interest. And then mix a little bit of Hauser Light green with the color and just accent it just a little bit more. That leads your eye in. And then back here on the fence line, we're gonna just kind of chisel it. Whoops, that's too bright. We need to just use the Festive. Have some grass growing up. Just kind of a chisel scumble. Okay, I think I can dig it. A little bit extra with the Hauser Light. Okay, like that. Yeah, I think just a little bit more even. Alright, after looking at the pictures, I always take a picture with my iPhone and, and take a look, like to see how the values are going and stuff. After looking at the picture, I decided that my fence needs to be differentiated a little bit, so I'll just float up the staves just a little bit. That'll help make it look a little bit more grounded. And then we could go ahead and use our, not driftwood, that's not going to be enough. Well, let's go into a little bit of the Indian turquoise and the white. And almost make it like a gray color. And just scooch that right along the edge. That's kind of cool looking. Right at the tippy tops. And then maybe across, and maybe just Indian turquoise. Maybe on the tips of these cross beams. I don't want to put too much everywhere, but okay, then we'll take that Indian turquoise and we'll come down here into his stem. Go stronger up here, and then we need to go ahead and give a little bit, I think I want darker, so I'll probably get out desert turquoise. Maybe we can just go ahead and scooch just a little bit there in the ground. Get some magic happening. Yeah, I like it on the fence post. I think that was a good addition. Alright, we'll go ahead and use our desert turquoise. And we'll give the pumpkin just a little bit of something going on there. And let's deepen the color of our tombstone with the Indian turquoise, or the desert turquoise, sorry. Okay. Can draw it into the stones. And yeah, I dig it. Okay, we're going to shade the moon with with the squeaky voice. We're going to shade the moon with traditional burnt sienna, and I'm going to start it upside down and back it up so I can get it on camera. Nice juicy brush. Nice mop. And continue. I'm going to fix that. Okay, we'll let it dry. Alright, we're going to use traditional burnt sienna and a nice round dry rub brush, and we're going to extend our float. So it's important to float to get it out to the edge, but then you can come in behind it and extend it out. And then you can float to strengthen, and it's just a nice little tap dance that we do. Even out where things weren't so even. It's gonna have all that stuff, so don't worry about that. Alright, we're going to put some drying time extender in the back area so that we can make some pretty little movement go on. Okay, and we'll wipe that off. And then we will pick up our oval brush and we'll mix golden straw with white. Maybe 1 to 1. Let me take a look here. Alright, and then we're going to go into our background and maybe a little bit more golden straw. And we're going to carry that around, making it quite a frightful little moon. Dance around to make texture, and then go into more white. Oops, I got into something else too. Definitely want it choppy. Don't want it to look base coated, so leave some artistic expression there. Okay, I think I can dig that. And then maybe we'll go ahead and wipe out our brush. And I have to rinse out my brush, which isn't going to work because retarder and water, or drying time extender and water, do not get along. So I'll get a new brush. And I'll mix a little bit of drying time extender. It's not retarder, it's different. But I'll mix a little of that with, and we'll come out here and slip slap to walk that in. Be careful not to get too much in the white because it'll turn pink. Yeah, it's getting a little bit more dramatic. I like it. Alright, I'm going to base the back side of my piece with black. And what I want to do is I want to stipple these little cut edges with my jumbo dauber so that I don't get any bleed over and I don't have to do any fancy painting. So I'll just tap it really nice and easy where the cuts are, and then increase my pressure for the rest of it. Okay, I'm basing the bottom with black green, and what I'm doing is I'm using my jumbo dauber over the crack, and that way I don't get any paint congested down in there. And then I'll use a big brush to finish the rest of it. But that's a really good way to get it floating over the top without getting any paint inside the crack. Okay, I'm using a flexible see-through ruler and my, oops, gotcha, Ghost Writer. I'm going to measure my checks. And I'm just going to go through and just make my marks to get them nice and even. Alright, we're going to use a stencil to do our roof lines, and I need to mask These little porches. Get on there. Fine. A little piece of tape would work too. All these stencils are etched so that you can line them right up with the cut of the wood. And 2 coats and we're good to go. And the color is black plum. All right, we're going to take our windows and use some yellow light. And we're just going to go ahead and just kind of stipple and slip slap right into the windows. Okay, just a little bit of something in every one. Then you can go into white, and I would wait until I was dry to do it. You can touch white and the yellow in there. And that'll give it a really nice, bright, almost artistic look. A little slip-slappy, diddly-dabbly kind of thing. Alright, we're going to take our windows and we're going to shade them with traditional burnt sienna and just give them a little bit of a glaze. Kind of down around one corner. Alright, we're going to take Driftwood and Patty Spirit Dry Brush number 6, and we're going to create some texture on our haunted house. See where my pattern is, so I keep it all straight. Just streaking the driftwood on there, and that's just going to give us some texture and some, you know, patina and stuff like that. Just streak, streak, streak. And then we'll go ahead and base the steps with driftwood. This porch right here. Drop. And then we'll go into our driftwood and we'll create these stones going down. I'm just going to make these kind of loose. Loose little stones, a little path kind of. Okay, we'll take white plus driftwood, and we'll line this upper ridge here, and maybe an upper ridge here. Just to give it that look of depth. All right, we'll go into soft black, and we're going to shade the roof. And that's not going to be dark enough. No, that's not dark enough. Alright, so we're just going to shade. We are going to go ahead and shade the roofs where they go behind things with the soft black. And I think it shows up just enough. find in this case there where it comes to a peak because it's going to be shadowed on both sides. Everything in. Okay, I think we can dig it. We'll switch to a bigger brush, and I think we might use soft black to shade the building too, but we're going to do a little bit softer coats. Yeah, that looks pretty good. In this case, this is a porch covering, so we need to make that more shaded underneath. Anywhere where the eaves go, over. In this case, I think that gets fairly, pull some of this down. It's kind of like a dry brush float moment here. So I'm floating, but then I'm pulling it down in as well. It's going to give us a little bit more of a creepy look. Tell what in the world is going on here. I think this one is in front of this one. Just gonna pull that down. Okay, now I'm getting crazy. Okay, the most important thing is just to keep it kind of loose. Because you can get really perfectionisty about this, but I don't think it's needed. That gave it a nice aged creepy look. And I think maybe let's go ahead and highlight with the driftwood where things go out in front of other things, if I can figure that out. And we'll just kind of line. Something goes in front of here. I haven't talked about this book in a while, but I kept pulling it out for this project because the colors are a little bit strange. These are baseball card sleeves, and these are old business cards that I have made a color swatch on, and I have labeled it. And when something is transparent and I know it, I label it transparent, and when it's discontinued, I put a big D on it and scratched through, but I also know that I have this swatch so I can see if there's like coral blushes really close, and then I've got a replacement. And so one of the things that you can do is if you don't have all the colors in whatever brand, I've made one of these for each of the brands of paints. If you don't have all the colors for the brand, get together with your painting group and swap paints. It's really like it's a fast project to do, so you might have it, whatever colors Mary has, you have Mary make those cards, and then whatever colors Sue has, have Sue make those cards, and then you swap them. But so when I'm going through and I want a purple that, let's see, I've got royal purple is my, black plum is my base. So I'm looking for a purple to highlight with, and I think maybe like pansy lavender or wild orchid will work for me. So this is super handy to have. And then I even mixed, I did like dioxazine is like a primary color. I mixed it with black and then with white, and then I did it with just white over here. So that's what it looks like toned, and that's what it looks like also toned. But it's a really good color exercise. Okay, so get in a loop. A little bit closer, and we're going to use the, what color do we have? Pansy lavender to highlight the roofs. Okay, and that's just going to give them a little bit of detail. I may go ahead and need that wild orchid too. My building is getting a little bit dark. I'm not minding it, but I don't want it to get too dark and disappear. And then you can go ahead and put some roof details on. You know, you can have some little shingles if you want them. That just makes it more interesting, I think. That's just straight across. Okay, and then I think we will go wild orchid. And I'll wipe that out. And now this way this time I'm going to use just chisel and just kind of move some color here and there just within what I've already done. Kind of focusing more on things that are up front. Okay, because I'm going to use Glamour Dust glitter paints, I'm going to use Lemon Drop. And because they're transparent, I can put this behind in my sky and add a little bit of bling without covering up the work that I've done. Okay, we'll just kind of coat that back there. And because they're Glamour Dust glitter paints, they're not going to make a mess all over the place and shed on things. Look at how pretty that looks. So glittery. Love it. Alright, we're going to use sticky mesh, and we're going to apply it here and there, and we're going to use a variety of colors. So I'm using Driftwood plus Wild Orchid, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of sticky mesh stuff here and there. And it just gives us some structure without structure. Okay. Then I'm going to come down below here. I'm just going to wipe my paint out. And I want to go into maybe the Festive green. And just apply some other textures. Then we'll go into olive green and just apply a little bit more. Okay, and this is the idea with this, is just to rough things up just a little bit so they're not so stagnant. Okay, you can certainly go into these guys right here, Festive green. And then I think we want to go on our pumpkins, but I think I will wait until I get done with my Festive green. This one's not Festive, this is olive. And this will help the cat just show up just a little bit more. And then we'll go into Indian Turquoise as well. Same thing here, Indian Turquoise. Okay, and now wipe that out and get a highlight color. Let's go Orange Twist. Okay, who do we got here? That's not quite wiped out, so I'll get a new brush. And that's not showing at all. That's when we spit and erase. Okay, get just a little bit of something going on there. Oops. The neat thing about it is you don't have to worry about lining anything up. Okay, and now I think we can go into one more new brush. And let's go spread around some, I think, Desert Turquoise. And we'll go Tombstones. And maybe in front. And that might need to be Indian Turquoise. Kitty cat can have some on there. Okay, I think I can dig it. Okay, we gotta give it a little kiss of Desert Turquoise here. So let's get some going on the steps. Just dry brush that. And that Festive green and the Indian Turquoise look really good together, so we'll get some of those two combinations going. Ditch that brush, and we got to get some of Desert Turquoise onto our building here. some kind of highlights. Here. Okay, that brings the color families in, and we'll take one more step, and that is we're going to take some of the purple, the pansy lavender. Alright, we're going to give a little kiss of pansy lavender to our pumpkins here and there. And we can even go into maybe a shady side of our tombstones and give them just a little bit of pansy lavender. That's going to be to bring the color in from above to below. Okay, maybe a little bit on our fence. Ooh, that's pretty, creepy and pretty. So a little bit of random purple scatterage. Alright, we've got bat stencils, and this is Trouble by Broomstick, and I'm just going to put a little witchy poo up there in the sky. Can't decide if she's going home or going away, so we'll just tuck her up there. The sky, I'm going to use my crescent brushes to stencil so that I get the good details. And I'm going right over my glitter paint. Help if I put my glasses on so I can see. Blotting on my paper towel so I don't have a bunch of goop sticking out. Okay, and then immediately following this, I'm going to go into my bead and glitter glue, which will stick your glue or your glitter down like crazy. So I'm going to go right over the top of that with bead and glitter glue. And I think I've got it done. I'll tuck that into some water and apply my glitter. And then I'll wash my stencil off right away, otherwise I'll have glitter on there forever. Okay, and then in my small little petite glitter tray, I'll tap off my extra glitter. These little guys right here, they make them big, they make huge, middle, and teeny, and this is the teeny size, perfect for just a little glitter mess.